In line with the same, we also talk about diversification and scaling up of the business. For that, we also talk about alternative investments as a product category. In line with the same, we have our next presentation, Scale Your Advisory Business with New Age Alternate Investment, presented by Mr. Rahul Jawahar, National Sales Head of Faircent Background. Rahul sir, a very warm welcome to you to today's presentation and our 9th Wealth Management Convention. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to AFM for having Faircent here. A lot of knowledge sharing has already happened today, the democratization of financial ecosystem, and also we have heard Mr. Balasubramaniam from Birla Life rightly envisaging on risk appetite and the factor governing investor mindset. In the continuation to this flavor, I would like to talk on the new arena, a new roadmap to scale your advisory business with a new age investment, alternate investment class. Just to give you a background about Faircent and the universe which we belong to, it's into P2P lending. Well, Faircent has pioneered P2P lending in India with a vision to democratize investments. And in last 8 years into the existence, in P2P space, we have gone through various cycles, be it GST, NBFC fiasco, Notebandi, and off lately, pandemic, where P2P model have been tested and are able to navigate through various downside events and emerge as a very strong alternate investment class, catering to wide variety of section of customers. Today, P2P is at the cusp of evolution, where platforms have attracted a lot of investor trust, and a lot of platform have accumulated funding from market investors and collaborating with various traditional and new fintech institutions. The whole objective is to bridge the great gap in our country. So P2P lending is new to India, but globally it has already disrupted the financial industry and emerged as one of the fastest growing in BFSI space. Also, we envisage a similar trend in India as well, because in India we have a huge great gap, and P2P lending is a part of Fintech Ecosystem. So before I jump to P2P lending model, let me take you through some innovation within the fintech space where we have experienced phenomenal growth. So this is a fintech ecosystem. If you look at all these quadrant where we have deposits and payments, lending, investment advisory, and trade and services. All these quadrant, you will find a lot of fintech players with the help of technology and data. They have created larger models. So now it's not a peripheral; it's in the mainstream. So there are some examples. In lending side, we form a part of lending and investments. So this is an overview of alternate investment, and we believe the next wave, alternate investment, would be the next wave in our asset allocation. Again, if you look at the US market, where the alternate investment has close to 20% of the penetration. In India, it's less than 4%, and that too in HNI segment. A lot of HNI, they have the instruments or participants mostly from HNI segments. In last 15 years, we have seen exponential growth from 6% to 18% of the global investable market. So now the customer has, the demand is coming from the customer. They want to have some alternate investment there where they could enhance their returns. So this is very important part where we have to look at as a investment advisor. Diversifying the risk, obviously, alternate investment within the asset class, it reduces the risk where you have opportunity to diversify some portion of allocation in this category. Now the risk has also been, the risk tolerance is being very dynamic. It has changed. If you look at 5 years back and now, demographics have changed and the income have changed. So similarly, the risk appetites have also changed. So we need to deep dive and understand the client psyche around it. Technology and data and also the entire stack, which you can see on a screen, like UPI, eKYC, Aadhaar, digital locker, e-signs, regulatory sandbox. So these are helping in democratizing the entire for the retail investor, basically, because when we look at alternate investments, that because of the high ticket size, retail investor they have never participated. So it is reducing the ticket size, and there are several models now coming out and opening doors for retail investors. So P2P is one of them. So there are some models which is currently, so within the alternate space, we are the regulated one. We are regulated by RBI. So what are the different growth drivers? So I think the largest growth drivers are young population. So we are a country of 400 million plus young population. They are using mobile internet, smartphones, and internet penetration is very high in India. So if you look at the business models are building around these mobile technologies and the new generation for targeting this new generation people. Okay, now what is P2P lending? So in a very simple terms, it's a two-sided marketplace, just like Amazon, where you have buyers and sellers. Instead of buyers and sellers, here are borrower at the one side and the lender on the other side. As a platform, we help the transaction between buyer and sellers. So we go through the complete credit evaluation of these borrower, doing the KYC checks and all, and was the borrower they fulfill our parameters, we make them live on the platform, and on the other side, lender can look at the profile of these borrower and they can fund. We do all the operational work in this process, like documentation, loan documents, setting up NAC and all that. And if borrower defaults, then as a platform we also assist in recovery of these loans. So if you look at very logically, it's like lenders are earning just like a bank. Okay, so it's a new way of lending. I think lending is very old in India. It's century-old business. But all this while, banks and institution, they were participating in lending. So with the help of model and technology, now the power has shifted in the hand of retail people also. So it's a part of sharing economy globally. As I said, it all started in UK, then across the globe, like US, Canada, everywhere. It moved and it became very, very big. In India, it's regulated. We fall under NBFC P2P category. So this slide talks about the regulation, some highlights about the regulation. So we are a marketplace platform. We can't lend on our own book, so therefore we don't have any lending balance sheet. So we just work like exchange. We have to do due diligence for both the participants, for lenders, and for the borrowers. For the borrower, we do enhanced due diligence. We have to take a complete credit risk assessment and risk profile these borrower and disclose the same to our prospective lenders. So it's a very transparent system, because whenever we put money in any kind of debt or we don't get the transparency, but as a marketplace you have a complete transparency on these where you can see actually where money is going. We have to undertake documentation of loan agreement and other related documents. We have to provide assistance in disbursement and repayment of the loan through a very secure escrow mechanism. I'll talk about it. And finally, we have to render services of recovery of these loans which are originated from the platform. There are some prudential norms as well. So as a lender, there is a maximum investment limit of 50 lakh rupees, and as a borrower also there is a limit of 10 lakhs. So most of these borrowers are micro, small and medium enterprises, those who need a loan up to 10 lakh rupees. Even further, there is again a prudential norm where a maximum exposure to a particular borrower can be given up to 50,000 rupees. So which means even if you put 50 lakh rupees, you need to fractionalize in large number of borrowers. So that helps in reducing the loan, reducing the risk. The maturity of these loans shall not exceed more than 36 months. So most of these loans are mid-term, short-term to mid-term kind of loans. So money movement happens through a complete escrow mechanism, which is also spelled out by the regulation. My next slide, I will show you that. And all fund transfers shall be through a bank account, so cash transactions are not, it's prohibited here. So this is a lender escrow account with a trusteeship. So once a lender registers on the platform, they get a escrow account. Similarly, if a borrower registers, they get a escrow account, and the money movements happens through one escrow account to another escrow account. Now, whatever, let's say if a lender chooses to to fund a borrower, then it passes instruction to P2P, in our case, Faircent, and then we pass this further instructions to the trustee. So here, the role of trustee is very important. In our case, IDBI is the trustee, and then the money moves. And then the trustee passes the instruction to bank, and then the money moves. So any P2P directly passes any instructions to bank, the money will not move, which means the lender has a complete control on his money. So while there are a lot of investment classes such as stock, equity, debt fund, fixed deposit, and real estate. Similarly, if you look at P2P lending, it offers high returns. Risk-wise, it's medium. Liquidity-wise, again, it's medium, and volatility-wise, slow. So P2P platforms generally operate completely digital because we look at borrowers which are not which don't get funded by bank, which doesn't mean that they are not eligible borrowers, but there are certain sections of these borrowers which doesn't make sense or for a bank, because their model is different. They have a branch banking model, so their cost of acquisition is very, very high. So to cater to a specific segment, it has to be a completely digital. So for example, in Faircent, we cover 600 plus locations without having any branches. So it's a completely digital stack, which from the customer onboarding to credit appraisal, operations, fund flow mechanism, even collection and recovery, legal, reporting analysis. We use a lot of APIs, a lot of partnership to make it possible, and it's very reliable, secure, cloud-based, scalable technology. So how we do it? So there are various. So the main risk for this business is the default risk. So we do a lot of risk mitigation strategy before making borrower live on the platform. So we do complete due diligence. Basically, we try to figure it out, the ability to pay, their stability, and the intent to pay of these borrower. Then once the borrower is live, then there are further loan agreement and validation of these documents are done from the operations. There are institutional level where we use a complete recovery process. There's some system level, which means fractionalization of these loans, where we use, the platforms use technology to, fractionalize the loans in multiples. So there, P2P generate a lot of value for both the participants, for borrowers as well for lenders. So so most of the platforms, they cater to unserved and underserved borrowers. And if you look at the addressable base, 90% of these borrowers don't get funded from the banks or the financial institutions. So these are the target audience for P2P. Since we operate a very low cost business model, we are very thin, and by removing the intermediary, it's provided a cheaper credit to these borrower. Zero collateral, no need to have a collateral, and processing is very, very fast. Credit to basically micro, small, medium enterprises. Now for the investor or lender, they get a higher month-on-month income generation. There is a risk which we already talked about, helps in mitigating the risk. The volatility is very low because it's not directly correlated to the stock market. This is some models where P2P platforms operate, where they pool the money, and there is a technology which helps the lender to fractionalize and distribute in large number of borrowers, and completely algorithm and data science and automated process, and a very convenient process to do that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rahul sir, for sharing wonderful insights on P2P lending. It is something which probably a lot of advisors want to understand more on it. And since morning, when we have been talking on different asset classes or the industry as a whole, this again is a unique topic for all the viewers. I once again thank Faircent to be a part of this event, and Mr. Rahul for speaking on P2P lending. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful insights.
Thank you. Thanks.
Reach out today and let's do it professionally.